everyone. Thank you so much for joining the third episode of Books and Beyond. Today we have a super special guest joining us. She is a 12-year-old CEO and entrepreneur and the founder of the company called Coder Bunnies. Thank you so much, Samaira, for joining me today. It's really an honor to have you on my session.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sure. And to start off, can you please tell me more about yourself? And just let me and the viewers know more about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, my name is Samaira Mehta. I am 12 years old and I'm based in California. And basically, I have created a platform or an ecosystem, you could call it now, to teach kids how to code. And this consists of things like board games. So far, I have 3 board games in market: Coder Bunnies, Coder Minds, and Coder Mars. And these are all board games with the goal of making computer science and artificial intelligence education fun for kids and for everybody. I also have some really cool curriculums to go along with them, and I'm currently working on an app to streamline the way that kids learn how to code. So, with all these things combined, I like to call it a platform now. And this is all towards my goal of helping 1 billion kids in the world gain access to STEM and computer science tools. And I think the reason that computer science is so important to me, and yes, 1 billion kids can code is one of my big goals, is because I think of coding like a superpower. I think it gives students a problem-solving mindset. I know that not everybody will choose to become a professional coder when they grow, but I believe that a basic coding understanding makes everybody better thinkers, better leaders, better creators, and dreamers. So that's sort of the work I do. I'm also really passionate about, bridging things like the tech gender gap, and standing up for what's right.
Wow, that's awesome. So, I winter break was just over, so I definitely had a wonderful break. It snowed a lot actually here, and we got to go sledding, so it's pretty fun. Did you do anything fun for Christmas?
For Christmas, of course, we are in the middle of a pandemic. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go out anywhere, but I was able to spend time at home with my family. We had a Christmas Eve dinner, and then, we opened presents on Christmas morning, and it was just a really nice time all together, especially on Christmas Day.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And another thing I want to ask is just that I know you love to code, but what do you do in your free time? Do you have any other hobbies that you love, maybe like other than coding?
Yeah, well, of course, coding is definitely one of my favorite things to do in my free time. I also really enjoy playing board games with my family. I also really love the outdoors. So I love going on hikes, going on picnics, playing tennis, playing badminton. So I also really just love spending time outside, and board games are also one of my favorite things to do as well.
Yeah, that's super cool. My family also we love to spend time outdoors. And what do you have any favorite sport? Yeah, I know you mentioned badminton and tennis.
Yeah, I think badminton and tennis are definitely some of my favorite sports. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. So yeah, I do follow actually all of your social profiles, and I'm aware of your mission statement, like you mentioned, to teach 1 billion kids to code. So can you please share more about this initiative to all of us and explain more about Yes 1 billion kids can code?
Yeah, I see you've pulled it up. It is a mission with the goal of helping 1 billion kids in the world gain access to computer science tools. And as I said, the reason that coding is so important to me, and why I want to help 1 billion kids learn how to code, is because I truly do believe that it is like a superpower for our coming generation. It gives them a problem-solving mindset. Because the thing with coding, right, it's unlike anything we've really done before. In math, maybe we learn a set of formulas and then we could solve any problem. Maybe in English or reading, we learn how to read a few words and then eventually we can put together any word. But the thing with coding is it's different. It's different than that. And, we learn to analyze the situation, and we learn to try to execute and carry out the best and most efficient solution. And I think that mindset is very important for our coming generation. And that's why I really started with Yes 1 Billion Kids in Code, the moment I realized it really is a superpower. And as I've also said, I sort of have an idea of how I'm going to carry this out as well. Of course, I have my board games and I have my curriculums, but I think the new project I'm working on, which is the app, as I mentioned earlier, is really going to help make leaps and bounds towards this mission, because around, I think it's 74% of the world's population have access to a phone, right? More people in the world have access to a phone than a toilet, which I find funny too. But if we could bring that coding education onto a phone, I think that would also make a really big impact. And then, as you can see in these pictures, some of the workshops and events that I've been doing have also helped make a great impact. With some of the workshops I've done, I've taught over 10,000 kids to code so far, which is really fun too. And my games in total have already reached 1 million kids across the world. So we're slowly getting there.
Yes, you're very close. And, that's just so inspiring. You've reached so many kids, which is amazing. And, by interacting with you and talking with you on various platforms, I think that your main area of interest is technology. But I just also want to know, what are your plans after you graduate college? Is there any specific field you want to get into? And what college do you want to go to?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So my dream college is Stanford University, because I really like its tech entrepreneurship environment. And when I say tech entrepreneurship, that is sort of the thing that I want to pursue in the future as well. Because as you said, technology has always and will always be my passion, but the business side of it, the entrepreneurial side of it, has also always been something that I really enjoy, and I really think it's cool that you could put those two things together. You could bring innovation and the entrepreneurial side of it into a field like technology. So that's one of the biggest reasons I want to go to Stanford. At the same time, it's really close to my home, and I still don't have to move that far away from my family. And after college, I want to do a similar sort of thing, continue the entrepreneurship and the technological side of it.
Wow, that's very cool. So how about we shift on the, point to your board games. So at the age of 6, I believe you got inspired to, create these board games. And so my question to you is, how did you get inspired? And can you explain more about your 3 board games?
Yeah, of course. So let's see. I started out when I was 6 years old, as you said, and I think the reason I got into computer science is for various reasons. But before I do go into that, I wanted to give you a little background of how I started out. So ever from a very young age, my parents have always motivated me to be the best version of myself possible. I started swimming at 18 months old. I went on stage for the first time at 4 years old, I think, and swimming is always still something I still do to this day for fun. And then speaking and going on stage is still something I really enjoy doing. But at the same time, I think when I was around like 5 or 6 years old, I started piano classes, and piano was not something that I was that passionate about, and eventually, I dropped it. But the thing is, the thing that I believe personally differentiates my parents is that they didn't push me into doing something I didn't want to do. So like, as I said, the piano example, it was never something I really enjoyed. So, they didn't force me to do it farther. But at the age of 6, when my dad did introduce me to this coding thing, he introduced it to me with a prank. He basically showed me something on his computer where there was one button and a command which said, press this if you're beautiful. And he told me to give it a try. But when my mouse pointer actually touched that "you are beautiful" command, it just disappeared. So at that moment, I was sort of confused. I was like, how did you do this? Am I not beautiful? What's going on here? And that's when my dad told me that he used something called coding to create this. And I think that's when I first got really excited about coding. And maybe at 6 years old, not for the real coding behind it, but because I wanted to be able to prank my friends in a similar way. So then, I started learning how to code to be able to create those pranks. And, I really enjoyed it. I did start to realize that I like coding for the actual coding part of it as well. So I started talking to some of my friends about this. I'm like, hey, have you ever tried to code? It's so fun. And they were all like, oh no, I don't like coding. Coding is boring. Coding is just it's way too hard and I don't enjoy it. It's frustrating. And at first I was confused. I was like, coding is so fun. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I realized that this was the perspective of many kids. And of course, I decided to create a way to sort of make it fun for people like my friends so that I could eventually, code with them. So that's sort of when the idea for a board game came along. I decided, okay, well, I know my friends really love playing board games. We all love playing board games together. So maybe I could put coding onto a board game and maybe design something like that. So that's sort of where it all started out. It went through so many prototype phases, so many rough sketches. But as you can see on the screen, eventually, after a lot of persistence, that is how the board game is now. And I think this was one of the first pictures I ever took with my game. I was
awesome.
I was like 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old in this picture. But yeah, I see you also were asking, what is Coder Bunnies, Coder Minds, and Coder Mars? So basically, as I said, this was the start to Coder Bunnies, the board game that teaches you the concepts that go into computer science. And the main reason I didn't target sort of a main language to teach, whether it be Python or JavaScript, I didn't focus on a main language I was trying to teach through Coder Bunnies. I was trying to teach the concepts that go into this. Because the thing with coding is once you learn the concepts, they can be applied to any language, and any language is being made so much easier, right? Because you understand the basics. And then, after you understand the real concept, the syntax and the actual things that do vary language to language are fairly easy to understand. But, it's the concept that matters. So that's what Coder Bunnies is a lot about. It teaches concepts like sequencing, conditionals, loops, functions, and debugging, and some more advanced concepts like inheritance, parallelism, stacks, cube, lists, and many others. So that's basically what Coder Bunnies does. A little bit about Coder Minds. It is the world's first ever board game that teaches you artificial intelligence. And it's so crazy to think that artificial intelligence can be taught through a board game as well. But maybe just a little bit of story behind it is that, I was hearing so much about AI when I was around, I think it was like 9 or 10 years old. And I just, wherever I go, it's AI. AI is used in these new self-driving cars. My dad at the time worked in AI. So I was really curious to learn more about it. And when I did learn it, I decided, okay, well, I know a lot of kids may have the same question, and I have sort of this background in board game design, so maybe I could teach this complex concept of AI through a board game. And that's sort of where Coder Minds came from, and now it teaches the concepts that go into artificial intelligence. And then finally, Coder Mars released this last October, so October of 2020.
So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. So it recently launched, and it basically teaches the concepts of coding and AI through a Martian adventure. So an adventure on Mars, because recently space has become one of my greatest interests, especially planet Mars. And that was a fun board game, fun project to work on as well.
Wow, that is amazing. So yes, congratulations on, getting the Coder Mars. I just think it's so cool, you get to actually teach coding through board games. So, another question is, how do you exactly teach coding through it? What do you do? How do you play the board games? Like Coder Bunnies.
Yeah, so for Coder Bunnies, for example, as I said, it's a lot of the concepts that go into computer programming, because once you learn the concepts, you can apply those into any programming language. So what Coder Bunnies does is you have some code cards, and you use these code cards, and you have a bunny, and a bunny essentially moves through the maze with the goal to eat its colored carrot, jump over puddles, go around fences, and reach the destination. And although this may sound very simple, the ways that the cards are used, the ways the tokens are placed, actually make it easy to learn various other concepts. So I'll just give you one example with let's say conditionals. So if, then else, right? And this is taught through, let's say, the puddles and fences. And so these are arranged throughout the board. And so once your bunny does come across, let's say, a puddle, what you do is you apply this sort of if statement. If puddle, jump. else keep on going. So then you use your jump code card to help your bunny jump over the puddle. And then if there's, let's say, a fence that it comes across, the fence is too high for the bunny to jump over, so it has to find a way to go around it. It's sort of like a wall, a blockage. So if fence turn, else keep on going. So that's just one example of how conditionals or if then else is taught throughout coder bunnies.
Wow, that's awesome. I just love that idea. And you mentioned that silly prank that your dad pulled. It's so cool that you got inspired with that, to create these board games. And, being a 12-year-old CEO is amazing, but I'm sure there's a lot of challenges. So can you please, share with us about your journey as being a CEO? And can you share some learning experiences of yours?
Absolutely. So, the journey was definitely not a easy path, a straight path.
Yeah.
But I think one of my biggest challenges that I have faced has simply been my age and my gender. People believe that because I was young, because I was a young little girl, I couldn't do the same things that people older than me can do. Mm-hmm. So to give you an example, when I first had my board game ready and I was presenting it to some libraries because I wanted to hold my workshops there, workshops to teach other kids how to code. The first 5 or 6 libraries rejected me. They said, we already have these online coding programs, or why don't you come back next year? And now that I look back, I can sort of think of why they rejected me. It's because they thought I was a little 8-year-old girl who should be playing with her dolls and princesses and all the Barbies. What is she doing, holding these coding workshops? How will she lead a workshop? And who will come and listen to her? But over time, I realized there are people who don't believe that age or gender determines what you can or cannot do. Yeah. And because of one librarian who believed in that, I am now able to teach over 10,000 kids how to code.
Wow. That's amazing. That you're just so inspiring, Samaira. And, I'm just so excited I got to talk to you today, virtually. I hope that after this COVID-19 ends, we can meet in person. That would be amazing. And, a big challenge I could think of, as being a kid entrepreneur for you, is like, how do you manage your time and how do you organize your priorities? Because you still have school and you're an entrepreneur. So, yeah, can you explain more about that?
Yeah, of course. So I think, this has been one of my biggest challenges. But I think a tip that has personally really worked for me is just, breaking up my day into certain times, like time slots and time periods. So maybe I can say, okay, from like 8 to 4, I'll go to school in the morning or like throughout the day. And then maybe from 4 to 6 or 4 to 7, maybe I'll finish up homework or school projects or anything that's really pending from school. And then, maybe I'll have dinner and I'll decide, okay, from now, after dinner, I decide I'm not going to work on schoolwork anymore. I try to finish all my work before then. And then I can focus on my other passion projects, whether that be just coding or, work on stuff for my company or anything that's up and coming. So I really think that is something that's really helped me. And just having a planner has been one of my personal favorite things. I feel like it's so helpful when I'm able to write down all my tasks and know all my tasks and then just cross them out as I finish. I think that has really, really helped me. But another quote that I live by and I think has really motivated me to continue doing what I do and not let time be a barrier is time expands to accommodate your passions and priorities. Wow. So, as I said, a lot of people ask me how I manage with school, homework, extracurricular activities, and on top of all that, run a business, hold the workshops, go to these talks. But I believe also that if you are really passionate about what you do, then time will expand to accommodate in all of those passions.
Wow. That is so inspiring. Time expands to require, that is amazing. That's really something I'm going to keep in mind because it really helps. You said making, kind of like a to-do list and also having a planner. It does help. Time management is also something very big. I have to keep track of your school homework and all your other hobbies. Yeah. So That's amazing. And I was also reading this article on your LinkedIn profile that you had written yourself. So you said that you had a dream of going to the White House and you dreamt of meeting Michelle Obama and President Barack Obama. So eventually you actually got a personal letter from Michelle Obama. That is incredible. So can you please share more about this letter you got and how did you feel when you read that letter?
Yeah, so I see you pulled it up. That was the letter that Michelle Obama sent me in
Hmm.
May of 2016. It's
Wow.
also right behind me on top of my desk. But yeah, I think it was probably one of the most amazing moments in my life. Michelle Obama and the Obama family in general have always been a really, really big inspiration for me. And, I especially love Michelle Obama and the work she's doing, for girls' equality and all the
Yeah.
great work she's doing. So being able to receive a personal letter from her telling me how much, my initiatives and work have been making an impact and motivating me to, work even harder, I think it has been simply amazing, and words cannot even describe how I felt.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, like actually receiving a letter from the First Lady, that must have been such a big inspiration for you, which is incredible. And my next question is, you've talked at so many talk shows, you've done interviews as well, you've hosted workshops and big companies like Google, Microsoft, and Intel. So, what keeps you going and how do you keep yourself motivated to continue on in what you're doing?
I think that's a great question because, motivation is so important. You need to
Yeah,
have something that inspires you, that keeps you going. And I think for me, that is just that's literally just people like you, all the amazing people in the world who have supported my work and my mission and really just motivate me to keep on going, as well as just any girl who dares to dream big and doesn't let things like her gender or her age determine what she can or cannot do. And seeing some of the impact that I have made in the world, I think has been a huge motivator for me to
right.
keep on going as well.
Wow, that's awesome. And you may know that actually on my channel, I do book reviews and coding videos for kids. I'm definitely trying to reach as many kids as possible to start learning coding at a young age. So, what is your take on girls in STEM? So, what do you
I
think about
think, yeah, I think that's a great question too. So, what the first ever line of code was written by Ada Lovelace, a
that?
woman, back then. Like it was long ago, and to think that women back then could have done such big leaps and bounds in fields like computer
Yeah,
science or just STEM in general, I think that has been a huge motivator for all girls across the world to continue in fields of STEM. So my personal take on girls in STEM is that there is more girls needed in it. I think at the moment girls are only represented about 20-ish% in STEM,
right.
while boys and men are represented around 80%. Right? So clearly that's not equal. And I think one of my biggest dreams and one of my biggest impact that I hope to see in the world
Yeah.
is a more equal STEM field. And I think that girls bring so much to the table that is clearly missing out in fields of STEM at the moment. And just to name a few, there's creativity, compassion, collaboration. There's so much that is lacking in fields of STEM that girls can
Mhm.
bring to the table. And I really feel that there are more girls needed in it.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. There are a lot more girls needed in the STEM field. And my last question to you, Samara, is what is your advice or just a helpful and important tip that you want to give to all the young kids out there who want to become a CEO or start their own business?
Absolutely. So I think one of my biggest tips or one of my biggest advice, as I said earlier, was time expands to accommodate your passions and priorities.
Yeah.
It is so important to realize that I don't have time is not really a valid excuse. If you have the passion for it and if you love what you do, then time will expand to accommodate in all of those passions and priorities. So I think that has been a really big advice that I want to give to other kids out there who want to become entrepreneurs. But another one of my biggest advice would be, don't worry about failure. Worry about the chances you miss when you don't even try. There's so many times I look back in my journey and I'm like, if I had just stopped when those original librarians had told me that I can't hold a workshop in their libraries, if I just stopped there, to this day, I wouldn't have gotten the chance to teach over 10,000 kids how to code. So instead of, worrying about the outcome, which may be failure or success, worry about the journey and the process that you may miss if you don't even try in the first place. And worry about the other amazing things it could lead you to, if you just stop there. So don't stop there. Keep on going, and don't let failure ever be a barrier to you.
Wow, that is so inspiring. Thank you so much, Samaira, for joining me for the third episode of Books and Beyond. It's really an honor to have you here. You're just so inspiring, and I've just really wanted to talk to you in person like this, and the time came. So yeah, thank you for joining. And that's all of the questions I have for you. So how about we go on to the comment section and see if anyone has any questions. So guys,
Of
please
course.
feel free to put any questions you like for either Samira or myself, and I'll share them on the screen, and we can see um, the questions. Okay. Okay, so we have one here from Sarah Parker. So it says here, can you talk about Boss Bizz? I will enroll next time for sure.
Oh, that's so sweet. But yes, I'd be more than happy to talk more about Boss Bizz. Basically, Boss Bizz is a 2-week program, and essentially it's happened 2 times now. It first happened originally in July of 2020 and then in December of 2020. And I believe that Naya attended both of them, which I think is really amazing as well. But yeah, basically it's a 2-week program where I, alongside well-renowned entrepreneurs across the world, share with you the process that goes into creating a business and becoming an entrepreneur. And along the way, you get a chance to create a little presentation that goes over to the judges, and you get to answer a few questions through like a question and answer round, and you got to talk with a panel of amazing judges, and eventually you present your ideas for the chance to win some really big prize monies, and you can use those monies to go back into investing your business, and actually making some of your ideas and visions a reality. So in July, our grand prize was $1,000 with runner-up prizes of $500 and $250 and $250, and we had some other very amazing prizes as well that were given out, because my goal was to motivate as many people as possible to continue their entrepreneurial journey. This December, our grand prize was $2,000 with runner-up prizes of $1,000 and $500. So I think, and as well as many other amazing prizes. So once again, I think the goal was to motivate people to start their entrepreneurial journey, because I believe, and when I say people, I mean more of youth. So I guess if there is a way to use some of my skills that I've learned and help other kids bring some of their ideas and visions to reality and solve problems and bring the much needed change in the world, that was really my goal with Boss Bizz.
Yeah, yes, I did attend both of the Boss Bizz events. One happened, both were in 2020, right? So it was during summer vacation and also in winter break. So I enrolled for both of them, and the speakers were just so inspiring, and you as well, Samaira, you taught me so much about entrepreneurship and starting your own business. And Boss Bizz actually helped me start this series of mine called Books and Beyond. It really helped me. And yes, I definitely think all of you guys listening should definitely enroll for the next Boss Bizz event if you are planning to host one. So actually, when are you planning to host Boss Bizz 3.0?
So I really hope that I will be able to host Boss Bizz 3.0 again. Not anything is final yet, but if it does happen, it will happen in July of 2021.
Awesome. Very looking forward to that. I'll definitely be joining. So another question we have here is, what app did you make? I know you were mentioning about, making this app for coding. So did you already launch it yet?
So it hasn't been launched yet. We're sort of working on it at the moment. It's sort of
Mhm.
in the testing phases. So it will be launched, to give an approximate date, I think early 2022.
Oh, awesome. Wow, that's really cool. You've already created three board games and you're working on an app, which is amazing. So, let's see. I'm gonna see if we have any questions. Okay, thank you guys so much for asking as well. Keep them going in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them. So we have one here that says, which is the coding language we can start learning as kids?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. One of my biggest advice for you would be to start out with the concepts, and not necessarily just through Coder Bunnies, but there's so many amazing platforms out there, whether that be code.org or, Tinker or any other platform out there. I recommend starting with things like the concepts that go into it. But then when you talk about languages, I think one of my biggest advice would be to start with things like block-based programming. And that's where a lot of the concepts are actually being taught, which I think is great. I think Scratch is a great platform to start with block-based programming.
Yeah.
But after block-based programming, I recommend languages like Python. Python is a great language. It's a very versatile language. It's used in so many things, from AI to the machine learning. So I think Python is a great language to start out with, as well as it's fairly simple. So I think Python is a great coding language starter for kids.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The block-based programming like code.org and Scratch is a very good place to start off. But also, you mentioned Python, and I definitely agree with that. I do have a series on my channel where I teach kids how to code in Python. Yeah, so I definitely think Python is a great language to start off with, including JavaScript as well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So, okay, so we have a lot of questions here. Maybe I'll choose one more. Let's see. So, okay, we have one here that says, can we create an app or a game with Python?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of games can be created through Python. I think one of the first projects I ever created when I started with Python was a simple calculator app. But now I create some fun stuff like Hangman or just stuff like that to play. So yeah, a lot of games can be created through Python. As I said, it's a very versatile language, and so much can be done with it.
Yes, definitely. So that's all for the questions, guys. Thank you so much for asking them in the chat. And a lot of people, they're saying that this session was amazing. So I'm so glad to hear that. And a lot of people are looking forward to your next Boss Biz session, I think. So yes, thank you a lot, Samaira, for joining me. And everyone, keep an eye out on NPStation. I will be actually publishing the next coding video in the coming weekend. We will be doing the fun activities of Chapter 6. So again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Samaira, a lot. I really had a lot of fun talking with you today.
Me too. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here today.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.